Inio Asano is one of my favorite authors of all time, and I know this is funny to say when I've read only two of his works, but something tells me I can trust this feeling, especially after finishing Solanin. The story follows Meiko, a young adult working in Tokyo who's very dissatisfied with her life, despite what the city has to offer. So not long after her introduction, she decides to quit her job in order to clear up her ideas. Days, weeks, months go by in the blink of an eye. But all Meiko does is spend her time doing nothing in this sort of lazy and aimless freedom, which wouldn't be a problem if she didn't have to pay the rent for the place she shares with her boyfriend Taneda. This entire situation naturally ends up putting all the pressure on him to secure money. By doing nothing, she expects him to do everything, until something between them and even inside of themselves inevitably breaks. And Solanin, the song Taneda records later in the story, is what puts an end to their old lives, to their old selves. Where is happiness for someone who doesn't know where to look? What is Meiko even doing in Tokyo? We are still so young when the world expects us to start integrating into society and play a determined role within it, asking us to hurry and rush life-defining decisions, when the future has never looked more uncertain. Those who have enough courage to pursue their dreams may see all the time and effort put into that chase go to waste, and if that wasn't enough, sometimes there is this little voice inside of ourselves suggesting the right thing to do, but quickly comes another suggesting the opposite. Taneda and Meiko are trapped in such dilemma. Solanin is initially introduced as a breakup song from Taneda to express the departure from his partner, but after his death and a more careful read of the lyrics, it becomes clear to Meiko that it was meant to be a departure from his old self instead, from the inner child who dreamt of being a famous singer and saw that fantasy crumble in front of his eyes, ultimately forced to grow up and choose a normal and boring life. So it was only through singing Solanin that he could bring himself to embrace reality and step into adulthood, saying farewell to the child inside of him, slowly fading away in those notes and words. Behavior Meiko imitates when she picks up his guitar after the boy's death. And there's this bridge which is often shown in Tokyo that emphasizes the narrative of growing up, the act of crossing this period of everyone's life, and the sandals Meiko wears on the day she performs the song mark the first step onto the future, even if they felt a little stiff at first. It's no coincidence that after months from the performance, Meiko packs all of her stuff up and moves into another flat located on the other side of the river, on the opposite side of the bridge, and the last panel happens right on this structure. Even if she's shown 10 years after hopping in and out of jobs, still aimless in her life, she has at least kept moving on in search of her happiness, an ordinary and normal one, but still precious. And she seems to have been successful in that. Days will feel ordinary, and at the same time like I'm in a dream. So, what is happiness? Of course, a dream come true answers the question immediately, but that can't always happen. Happiness could find an example in coming to terms with reality and being able to compromise. Maybe it won't be a victory, but do there need to be losers? Growing up sucks, seeing those around you leave you behind, being unable to understand who you are without comparing yourself to other people is inevitable, and as time passes, your options definitely narrow down. You get older. There's always this melancholy behind happiness as adults. I couldn't help wondering how many more moments of happiness like this I'd have. Who hasn't thought that in similar scenarios? But even on an ordinary night of fireworks, Taneda did feel happy. Some dreams just end, And Tanida's is so beautifully portrayed by this toy descending from a sky full of fantasies and freedom, down into this city, reality, the world of adults. The sky is so blue today. That's what he says with a smile on his face in his last moments, as if the remnants of that child were speaking. But I would be tempted to say his happiness here is the one of an adult, accepting reality and normality. This is not the smile of a kid who wants that sprinkle of fantasy on life. The child who had tried to swim upstream in the river, but drowned in it. It might be boring to live a predictable future. Reality is a lonely, delusional concert in my tiny apartment. But Taneda had finally found the answer for himself. He'd found love. And maybe children dream too big. But adults do too, in a different way, with contaminations of reality, if you will. Normality isn't necessarily sadness. Life is tough for everybody, and some have it tougher, but that's simply how it goes. Sometimes you can fight it, other times you just cannot, and are forced to follow the river downstream. Asano's portrayal of reality is extraordinary. The struggles of young adults trying to fit in society, the promises of a big city like Tokyo with its vast and blue sky of dreams, slowly getting heavier the more a character ages. In Solanin, the main characters slowly but surely die as their dreams wither. There are no answers, and nothing lasts, so there is only one thing that matters. And that's right now. This is the author's comment under an extra chapter added years later to this story, which I partially agree with. I'm not sure if there even are answers. What I'm sure of though is that it's not just right now that matters. Even if I'm conflicted, I also believe, or at least want to believe, in tomorrow. Asano also mentions one more thing at the end, that this story is about normal and even boring people. But that's reality for you. I love the symbolism he uses to enhance the themes presented. This need of breaking free from expectations and responsibilities society forces on you once you grow up and are supposed to put your dreams to rest, to actually become a contributor to its progress, at the cost of what your inner child once used to wish for, which finds an allegory in this balloon stuck on Meiko's balcony that she sets free, letting it wander in the vast and blue sky. But what it held on that day were promises or illusions. Solanin describes the hard transition from childhood to adulthood, and it does so masterfully. While some are hardworking and lucky enough to see their dreams come true and even gain financial stability, partially remaining kids in a way, others have to settle a little lower and compromise with reality. Among all these struggles though, there is no shame in being normal, in living an ordinary life, the one of a grown adult, instead of the fantastic adventures we used to picture as kids. There are things to be found somewhere worth being protected, but the answer to where happiness is hiding is something that will change for everybody. What's important is to keep going, and even taking your time when needed. We are still young, just keep moving on and searching for it. But what exactly? I'm not sure either. I don't have the answer yet. I'm only a kid.
Stay hungry, stay foolish.